hear two speakers that will, the format will be that we'll give each Caleb and Judge Wolf a chance to speak for 10 minutes, starting with Judge Wolf. And then after those 10-minute periods of time, then we'll open it up for a Q&A question period of time. I am pleased to introduce...
1 second.
Yes.
People might have to leave early. We better do the drawing.
What's that?
Oh, you have to leave early.
Oh, okay.
So
Let's do the
sorry about the
drawing.
interruption.
Yeah. Here's the drawing for those of you who purchased tickets if you need to leave. Oh, it's up here.
Oh, you've already gone.
Okay.
Oh.
Helen's on it. Helen's on it. The winning ticket is 245-6427. 245. Okay, there we go. We have a winner. And so while Helen helps you out there, I'm pleased to introduce to you today, we have, I want to get this right, we have Judge John Wolf, Circuit Court Judge in the 7th Judicial District, who is our incumbent in the election this May. And we have the challenger, Caleb Berthelsen, attorney at Morris, Starnes, and Sullivan, who will both be speaking to us today. Just a couple of words, too, about our time together today. When each of our candidates comes up, please stand and give a round of applause for our speakers. And then I'd ask that when it comes to the Q&A that you would be kind and polite and show respect for both of our candidates. Thank you. So, Judge Wolf, will you please come and speak to us?
Thank you, Kiwanis, for having us. Appreciate it. Thank you for those who are guests who decided to come to listen to us. Thank you for that as well. And to the folks at CCC News for running the live stream. Hopefully that's working out okay. I am John Wolf, and I am one of the circuit court judges that currently serves in the 7th Judicial District. There are 4 judges in that district, which encompasses Hood River, Wasco, Sherman, Gillum, and Wheeler counties. The 4 of us serve all 5 counties. As far as me and getting to know me, I was born and raised in the Dalles, went off to Oregon State to get my undergraduate degree. I then went to Willamette to law school, which I'm sure my challenger will agree is a great law school. I came back to the Dalles to start my legal career. I worked here in the Dalles, serving primarily folks within our judicial district for 15 years, representing clients in just about any kind of case you can imagine. Family law, criminal law, personal injury, probate, real estate, landlord-tenant, whatever you can think of, I probably handled it. My practice was primarily litigation focused, and I represented clients in all aspects of litigation, from motions, hearings, the discovery process, as well as trials. During that same time, I served as the municipal court judge pro tem for the Dalles Municipal Court for about 17 years. Before becoming a circuit court judge, in that role, I presided over arraignments, trials, sentencing. We did both bench and jury trials in that position. Since becoming a circuit judge in 2011, I presided over cases in all 5 of the counties, or the district's counties, ranging from a multi-million-dollar class action lawsuit to serious felony matters, small claims cases, and traffic trials. I've handled family law matters, probate matters, protective orders such as restraining orders, as well as juvenile matters. In just the last 5 years, I've presided over nearly 700 trials in all types of cases. Prior to taking the bench in the community, I served on several committees and boards, including some related to court operations. I provided pro bono legal counsel to several local nonprofit organizations in the area. Since taking the bench, I've served on a variety of local and statewide committees related to the court system, including the Council on Court Procedures, which is the organization that creates, reviews, and amends the Oregon Rules of Civil Procedure, which govern practice in all of Oregon's civil courts. I also served on the Chief Justice's landlord-tenant work group during the pandemic, which focused on how to handle eviction cases during the pandemic. And you probably recall a lot of news stories about how that was changing about every other day, it seemed like. We met a lot to try and get that sorted out so the courts could deal with that. On a personal front, I'm married. My wife Leslie and I have 2 girls, 18 and 20, and we also live with a couple of dogs who pretty much run the show. As far as what drew me to the bench, I've wanted to be a judge for as long as I can remember. Being elected to serve as a circuit court judge is probably one of the greatest privileges and honor of my life, so I appreciate that. I love the job, even when it's difficult. The challenge of it is rewarding, and every day it literally is something new and different. It's important to me that it gives me an opportunity to use my legal training and experience to give back to the communities where I was raised and to help solve people's disputes. That's a critical aspect of the court. If we weren't there to help people solve their disputes, it would likely result in chaos, and obviously that's not a good thing for anybody. Frequently as a judge, you see people on the worst day of their life, and so not only should they feel like they've been treated fairly under the law, they should be treated fairly under the law and with dignity and respect. As part of my approach to being a judge, I try and ensure that everybody that's been in my courtroom, regardless of what role they're in, is treated that way. I believe I have the experience, the judgment, the temperament necessary for the job. I believe I've demonstrated those qualities from the bench, whether it was in municipal court or in circuit court. All total, I have 26 years of experience as an attorney and a judge. My opponent has 2 years of experience as an attorney, and I think experience matters. My challenger certainly will discuss the conflict created by my wife serving as a deputy district attorney within the district. And while it's true there is a conflict that prevents me from hearing criminal cases in some of our counties, it's not the problem that it's been portrayed as. We've dealt with the issue for 11 years, and we don't have a backlog of cases. No one's being denied their day in court. In fact, we have one of the lowest percentages of criminal cases that have been pending for 6 months or more in the state within Wasco County. While I hope the conflict in Wasco County is resolved soon, even with the conflict, there are plenty of non-criminal cases for me to hear. Last year, I had 26% of the total time in the courtroom within the district. Judge Stauffer, the other judge who's based here in Wasco County, had 25%. And the 2 judges who are based primarily in Hood River split the remaining 49%. That shows that the caseload is fairly balanced. Again, in the last 5 years, I've heard nearly 700 trials. And during that same time, Judge Stauffer's heard 125. I think it clearly demonstrates that I'm handling my fair share of the cases. As far as what I want tonight, because we've got this opportunity to speak to folks, I want to talk about some of the things that we've done and some of the things that I think we should continue to do. I do want to ensure that we protect the public's access to justice. That's been challenging, as you can imagine, during the pandemic. We did our best to ensure that people had multiple options to appear in court when that was allowed under the law. We need to continue to work to make the system more user-friendly, whether that's through technology such as video appearances that we've been doing or through our e-court system. We have provided, since I've been on the bench, a lot more self-help forms, meaning that people can obtain those forms themselves. We've also instituted a system that lets people go through and fill it out on the computer, similar to TurboTax, so it completes the documents for you. Family law coordinator in our district, I work with quite a bit on divorce cases. They are able to help folks find forms and complete forms so they can get their matters heard in the courtroom. That's particularly important when you consider that the vast majority of divorce cases involve at least one person who's not represented by an attorney, and a significant number involve folks where no one is represented by an attorney. And ultimately what that means is that the judge is the only person in the room with any legal training or experience in how to resolve those kinds of cases. We also see that quite a bit in landlord-tenant cases, and again, frequently the judge is the only one in the room who's got any experience in dealing with those types of cases, and it's important for that person to have that experience. Jury service, we need to continue to try and make that easier for folks to serve. Anybody who's been on jury duty understands how important that is to our system. Certainly anybody who's been in the courtroom as a party knows how important that is to our system. We've added things like text messaging and email communications with jurors that we didn't have before I started on the bench, so that we can let folks know when they need to show up for court, when they need to be there, instead of relying on what used to be a call-in system that, just human nature, it's difficult for them to call in every week to make sure you need to show up for court. We need to continue to foster our alternative dispute resolution options, mediation, arbitration, and judicial settlement conferences. That's basically a mediation that's led by a judge. I participated in a great number of those, and I encourage people to participate in those. We use them to resolve all kinds of cases. This opportunity to speak to people like this, I think, is important. I think it's important for judges to take advantage of that so that we can explain to people what we're doing in our court system and how our courts operate. That is one of the benefits of a contested race, is that it gets people out and interested in hearing what we're doing. So I do appreciate that. Technology's obviously advanced. We have gone from paper files when I took the bench to electronic files, and that is a fantastic improvement as far as the folks in the courthouse are concerned. It used to be when something got filed, the clerks had to track down who had the file to make sure that it got there, so it was there when you needed it on the bench with everybody in court. Now it's simple, it just shows up on the case and we're able to access it. It also gives us access outside of the courtroom. It gives multiple people potential access to the file. It gives people outside of the courthouse the ability to check in at least on some records of some case types, which is a good thing. I helped improve our process for obtaining warrants. When I took the bench, essentially an officer had to find a judge when it was after hours, make contact with that judge, get the warrant to the judge, get the warrant reviewed and signed, and then get back to where they needed to execute it. Now we do that with cell phones and iPads, and it's a very slick process. An officer can get a warrant in a very short period of time. I do want to mention just our treatment courts real briefly. With the changes in the drug laws, it's been a little more challenging to find good candidates for drug court. And one of the things I'd like to see us do is tweak our family dependency court so that it doesn't focus on criminal cases, but it focuses on people who are involved in dependency cases, those types of cases that deal with abuse and neglect as a result of substance abuse. We've dramatically broadened the scope of people who could get involved in that court and provide additional resources for those folks to address their issues and hopefully get their children returned, or find out that that's not going to work and get their children placed somewhere else. Just to wrap up, the voters this year should focus on experience in this election. While judges, like lawyers, have continuing legal education requirements, there's not an apprentice program or a residency program like you would have for a doctor. Once a judge gets to the bench, the training is what you did before you became a judge. I have 15 years of experience in a wide variety of cases as an attorney, 11 years on the bench, circuit court, 17 in the municipal court, and again, my opponent has 2 years of experience as an attorney. Experience matters when dealing with these complicated issues that a judge faces every day. Experience should matter to you as a voter, and it definitely matters to people who are involved in the court system. Hope I can count on your support and look forward to continuing to serve the district. Thank you all very much.
Will people please stand as we welcome Caleb?
I want to thank everyone for having us out today. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. So I encourage everyone to donate to that scholarship fund. It's actually part of the funding for the arts program that my wife volunteers to run in our school. So thank you for your support on that. About me. I was born and raised in Wisconsin, raised in Minnesota. Immediately after high school, I joined the United States Navy. We did 1 year of advanced technical training for serving on board nuclear submarines for 3 years. I then went and did a tour in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, which led to my decision to now read this. After the military, it took me a year to adjust back to civilian life. Once I did, I decided to go and get my undergraduate degree at North Dakota State University. Following that, I attended Northern Illinois University for a master's degree before changing my directions and going to law school at, I very much agree with Judge Wolf here, a very fine law school, Willamette University. After law school, while in law school, I worked at the Department of Justice here in Oregon doing child dependency cases, as well as working for circuit court judge, working on all types of cases, and then going on to work at the Marion County District Attorney's Office as a juvenile prosecutor. After law school, I worked briefly for the Polk County District Attorney's Office, doing child support enforcement. I was the sole attorney in the child support office in Pakistan, effectively. I then moved to the Dalles in 2020 and began my criminal defense practice here. As a criminal defense attorney, I handle all types of cases ranging from simple thefts, DUI, whatever, major personal felonies, which is assault and sex crimes as well. I want to touch on, Judge Wolf brought up some interesting numbers. The 700 trials in the last few years is interesting. I did notice there were...
Caleb, real quick, there's something going on with the microphone. All Judge Stoffer and I are hearing this.
Can everybody just hear me okay if I try and speak up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jacked.
Overruled. 12 of those trials were actually last Friday between 3:30 and 5. Traffic trials take very little time, and if you're counting those, it's easy to rack up to 700 trials, whereas Judge Stoffer's 125 are almost certainly all lengthier bench trials over jury trials. Getting some other numbers, on the week of April 11, Judge Stoffer saw 177 cases, everything from criminal arraignments to sentencing to motions to hearings. Judge Wolf saw a total of 28 cases that week. The following week, one of the judges was not in town, so I left that out. On the week of the 25th, Judge Stoffer saw 112 cases, including a 3-day jury trial in Gilman County. Judge Wolf saw 35 cases. Again, 12 of those were traffic trials between 3:30 and 5 on Friday. In May, this week, Judge Stoffer will see a total of 194 cases throughout the week, largely because of a warrant docket that we do on a monthly basis that she has no assist for because the other judge in Washington County can't handle any criminal matters. Judge Wolf will see a total.
What has that got to do with you running for office?
I'll get there, sir.
Okay.
Judge Wolf will see a total of 14 cases this week. Next week, Judge Stoffer sees 107, Judge Wolf will see 12. The fact is, this is a massive disproportionate distribution of cases caused by conflict of interest. Judge Wolf says there's plenty of civil work to do, but the fact of the matter is, one of the requirements of a circuit court judge is to oversee criminal matters. You shouldn't be expected to keep a job when you can't do part of the job. My firm wouldn't hire an attorney that was major felony qualified but couldn't do sex crimes. A car dealership won't hire somebody who can sell all the used cars you want but can't sell a new car. Our system is bogged down. Just last week, the district attorney tried to convene a grand jury. They were short a person. There's a simple motion they can file to convene a grand jury with less people than normal. Judge Stoffer was in trial, so she couldn't do it. Judge Wolf was in chambers, but unable to sign that motion. So they had to go to one of the judges in a different county. I'm running because I believe our judicial system needs to be fully functional. We need judges, especially in a circuit with only 4 judges, that can do every aspect of their job. To have one judge seeing almost 200 cases while the other sees 14 is a massive disparity. And it does cost things. We may have a lower number of cases over 6 months old, but that's largely because we can move cases through the court at a rapid pace. Judge Stoffer has been absolutely amazing in that regard. But the system is designed to work. People who hold a public office should be expected to do everything that's expected of them, not just the parts that they like or the parts that don't conflict with their personal life. It is unfortunate, but the fact of the matter is we have a dysfunctional judiciary, and it's time to fix that. And that's what the voters have the opportunity to do this year. As for some of the changes I would like to see made, I agree that our treatment courts are highly important. I'd like to expand them. The option of creating a juvenile treatment court was brought up in a meeting just the other week. The question that got asked is who would oversee it. Judge Stoffer doesn't have enough time. Judge Wolf can't do criminal matters. I'd like to start a veterans treatment court as well. The same problem, however. We don't have a judge to oversee it. I would be able to come on, and with the extra person able to actually do the entire caseload respective of the circuit court judge, be able to create a juvenile treatment court, be able to create a veterans treatment court. Courts that take our juveniles to the judge of treatment rather than putting them in juvenile detention or going through other similar processes. A court specifically designed for certain types of treatment. Additionally, a veterans court would allow people who served our country, put their life on the line to be given a second chance. Transitioning from military life to civilian life is extremely difficult. It comes with strife, and very few people do it without having hiccups along the way. This month, as you go to drop your ballots off, as you go to fill them out, I hope I can count on your support. Because we do deserve to have a fully functioning judiciary here in Moscow County, in Cook County. Conflict isn't going, it's here, it's real, it's likely not going anywhere anytime soon, if ever. Thank you.
Thank you for bearing with us as we deal with some of this technology. It seems like there's always going to be something that goes wrong with these things. But if we could please speak into the microphone as we do the Q&A. And if I could have both candidates come up and stand here on my left, then it'll make the process a little more seamless. And again, try to speak into the microphone so that our live stream viewers can pick up on what you're saying. We'll take questions from the floor. I will repeat the questions into the mic, and then we'll have the candidate whose question you're directed to come up and speak. Any questions for our candidates? Yes.
Thank you, sir. I have some questions for Mr. Berthelsen. Mr. Berthelsen, as I read your qualifications, you have never represented a civil client.
A civil client?
A civil client in a civil action of any kind.
Okay, there's a question from the floor about Mr. Berthelsen having never represented a civil client in a case. Could you speak to that, sir?
I'd like to correct a misconception here. I have served civil clients, just not very many. Both of my caseload is in fact criminal. However, I do child dependency cases which take place in the civil world and have to deal with all civil rules. I also work for the Department of Justice, again, doing the same side, but from the state side. So I do have experience doing civil cases.
How many civil clients have you represented, sir?
I can't give you an exact number, simply because, for one, I can't disclose how many clients I'm serving as a criminal defense attorney, and as the Department of Justice, I can't disclose information there either. I have served a significant number, though, in broad cases ranging throughout the states.
How many jury trials have you had, sir?
Have I had most of my experiences in juvenile law, which are bench trials. I've had one jury trial.
Yeah, 2.5 years.
Yes, sir.
And you talk quite a bit about Judge Stoffer. Is there any significance to the fact that Judge Olson has endorsed Judge Wolf for being reelected?
Not really. It's pretty typical when a judge has an opponent for all the other judges on the circuit, or Court of Appeals or Supreme Court, whatever it is, to endorse them. The fact that only one of the 3 other judges endorsed Wolf, I think, speaks louder. In fact, one judge has endorsed me. Karen Austria has decided to stay neutral. That alone is unusual because judges tend to side with the people they work with.
Fact is, sir, that one judge, Judge Stoffer, has endorsed you. One judge, Judge Olson, has endorsed Judge Wolf. And the 3rd position is open, and the 4th position is taken no position.
That's correct.
And so the judge that will remain after this election, which Judge Stoffer is retiring, will be Judge Olson.
Correct.
Will his support of Judge Wolf impact your working relationship?
I don't believe so.
So, go ahead. I'd love to get some other questions too after you respond here.
I don't think an endorsement from somebody precludes me from actually doing it all. I've appeared in front of Judge Wolf since I filed this going against him. Attorneys are adults. We're grown individuals. We know how to act respectfully. There are rules of form, and those we follow both by judges and by attorneys. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If you have any other questions, please hold up for the moment because we have some other people that want to ask. Yeah?
Yes, as a prior criminal that Judge Wolf brought up, the 25 to 26%. I was a little skeptical. So, Judge Wolf, isn't it true that that number does not include arraignments, which include the bulk of the docket on Monday morning, as well as the 115 daily dockets that Judge Stoffer is the only judge who can hear?
Question from the floor is about the number, the percentage of time spent doing the work of Judge. Judge Wolf, can you answer that?
Sure. That number is an OJB statistic. It includes all the time in the court, whether it's arraignments, divorce case, jury trial, bench trial. It includes all of those times. I'm pretty certain.
I can speak to that because I checked into it. The numbers do not sound right, and they are not correct. I'm going to leave here in 10 minutes to hit the 115 docket to do arraignments. The arraignment dockets are not covered by those percentages. I confirmed that with our presiding judge, Karen Ostrey, and with our TCA.
I'll take another
And
look.
I would
That's
say
not
that those
my
numbers
understanding.
probably are not public information. They're probably something that Judge Wolf has been able to glean from something other than what the rest of us can do. However, I did confirm those numbers do not include arraignments.
That's not my understanding, but I'm happy to take a look.
Yeah, another question over here.
Okay, in part of Judge Wolf's speech, he said we should just deal with it, deal with the conflict. Why should we, as the public, deal with it? Judge Stoffer has been doing great for the past 12 years dealing with it. We have Marion Weatherford coming in as a judge, so why should he have to deal with your conflict?
More question about the conflict
Yeah, it was
of
just it was
interest.
the way he worded it. He said, we deal with it. Why should we have to deal with it? Those are your words that we just dealt with. Why should we continue to have to deal with it is my question.
Okay, yeah, Judge Wolf.
I think what I said is that we have dealt with it, meaning that we've managed to keep cases flowing. As I said, we've got the lowest, not the lowest, one of the lowest numbers of criminal cases that go beyond 6 months. They're getting processed. They're getting handled. People aren't being denied their day in court. It's not uncommon. It hasn't been traditionally what we've done in this district, but it's not uncommon in other districts for judges to handle certain case types and others to handle other case types. It's not an unusual situation.
I do have one more question for you as far as warrants go. You mentioned the iPad system, which I've heard before as well. My question to you is, if Matt needed a warrant at 3 a.m. in the morning and Judge Stoffer was in the Bahamas, would you be able to sign that warrant for him if it were a Hood River or a Wasco County case?
As we presently work it, somebody's on call. Whoever's on call gets that call and warrants get issued.
How often are you on call for criminal matters?
I'm on call every 4
In
weeks.
Wasco and Hood River County?
Yes.
But he can't do it once the DA's involved.
Yeah,
Yes, Matt Allen,
and almost all of the warrants that we do on call are blood warrants directly from troopers or deputies or city police officers who are looking to get a blood draw on a DUI. It's a pretty unusual circumstance that we've got an emergency kind of warrant we need to execute in the middle of the night. It does happen, but it's not very common.
Questions from somebody else? President asked. Yeah, Robbie.
To back to the previous question a little, we talk about these cases taking up to 6 months, and I looked at the numbers too from the state around how many cases were going beyond 6 months, and we're using the 6 months as like a benchmark that seems to be acceptable. But there's a strong consensus in many communities that the justice system is very broken, and the length of time that people are waiting to go to trial is one of the things that's very broken about our system. Are either of you two judges envisioning a better future for our justice system, which doesn't keep innocent people in jail for 4 months while we wrangle around figuring out how to go to trial?
Robin, speaking to the broken system as she sees it, would you both respond, please?
Few points. It's kind of a multi-stage question. There's a lot to unpack there. We are trying to make certain changes. There's been a recent change to the bail law and how we release people preceding trial. It's going to be interesting to see how that works. It doesn't completely eliminate bail from my understanding, but it does create additional circumstances where people can be released without bail. The The other big problem we have, and sometimes part of the reason it takes so long to get to trial, regardless of whether it's our jurisdiction or another jurisdiction, is we have a shortage of defense attorneys right now. There are certain jurisdictions in the state, Marion County, Multnomah County, Lane County, Washington Heights, the bigger jurisdictions, that are literally begging for outside attorneys to come in and help them. I've tried to be part of that solution. I picked up quite a few major cases out of Salem to try to help there. But by and large, it's a problem that can't necessarily be solved from the bench. Judges can't just reach into the crowd and pick out an attorney that happens to be there and start signing cases. There's steps attorneys have to go through to get qualified to do those cases. It's a problem that largely has to be addressed by the legislature. And short of just giving more funding and hiring more attorneys, I'm not sure how to resolve that.
I agree with Mr. Berthelsen. Part of that problem is the shortage of attorneys or just numbers of people. It takes a while to process a case to get it ready to trial. You've got interview witnesses, you've got people doing investigation. Typically when a criminal case is filed, the state has done a lot of their work. The police have investigated, somebody's determined that it's appropriate to charge, a charge has been filed, and then a defense attorney gets involved, and at that point, typically that's the first time they've heard of this person or seen this case. They've got to have some time to get ramped up to take care of the case. So there's some delay that's just unavoidable in order to make sure we've got a fair system, and you're not just handing somebody a case that you got to go try this tomorrow. That's obviously not going to work. At least it wouldn't be fair in any sort of sense.
Sure.
So there's some natural delay. I think 6 months, is that a reasonable cutoff or not? I think it tends to be. There are some cases that obviously are going to take a lot longer to try, and there are some that should be resolved sooner.
Lee, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'd like to get both judges' response on Measure 111 and how that has affected their court, their opinions of it, and how it affected the court's workload, or
Question
how
from
the
the
board
floor
sees it.
about Measure 111 for
Measure
both
111
candidates.
for both counties.
And if one of you can explain what that is for our viewers.
You mean measure 11?
No, Measure 111, that reduced criminal penalties.
110.
Oh, okay.
110.
110 there.
Okay.
That reduced criminal penalties for drugs.
Yeah, that's measure 110. It reduced a lot of the potential criminal, or potential drug crimes to violations. I haven't seen a huge impact. I've dealt with quite a few of the violations that have come through. I think we've seen some news stories about how many citations have been issued and about how few people who have engaged in treatment as a result of that. Whether that's a problem or not, I'll leave up to the voters and legislature to figure out. I think that is part of what's made it a little more difficult to find folks for drug court. Not so much that step as it was the step previous when they reduced them from felonies to misdemeanors. Because typically drug court, you're looking at an 18-month kind of an operation, and if your maximum potential probation, if you plead to a misdemeanors, 12 months, you're not really likely to want to engage in a drug court situation. So I don't know that it's had a gigantic impact on us. It's definitely had some. Hopefully that answers your question.
It has.
Two things. One, judges aren't policymakers, so regardless of what our personal opinion is, we follow the law as it is. The law is that certain drug possessions are now violations rather than a criminal matter. That being said, it doesn't make all drug crimes violations. You can still have enough of a drug crime where it's a misdemeanor. If you're delivering or selling or manufacturing, those are still felonies, and some of them still carry significantly harsh sentences. I think there's still plenty of people for drug court. It may have changed a little bit with the law, but a misdemeanors can carry a 24-month probation on a pretty regular basis, especially for repeat offenders. So you can still get them in to engage in these courts and try to do a treatment rather than a probation, but some people don't want to engage. And regardless of what the legislature does, you can't force people to do a treatment program.
Yes.
right, my name is Nathan. I'm a property manager here in town. I have a pretty decent sized number of doors I'm responsible for. I've been in front of Judge Wolf many times, and I, through this process, learned that he was involved with please correct my phrasing if this is wrong, the governor's landlord-tenant
Chief
law
Justice.
licenses. Chief Justice, thank you. So having brought cases in his court several times, I found him to be very knowledgeable on it. So my question is, Mr. Berthelsen, can you explain to us what your experience is with landlord-tenant law in your professional capacity?
Question for Mr. Berthelsen about landlord-tenant law from a property manager in town.
Short answer is I don't have any. I've never dealt with landlord-tenant law. On the flip side of that, Judge Stauffer never seen a criminal case until she took the bench. In 11 years, she's done nothing but criminal because that's all she has time for. No judge comes to the bench with experience in every area of law. In fact, what makes a really good attorney a lot of the time is that they stick to their specific area of law. A lot of district attorneys who become judges never did anything with criminal law either. Defense attorneys the same way. Some civil attorneys come to the bench.
Maybe time for one more. If anyone has a question, maybe. If not, we will thank both candidates for being civil with one another and respectful.